Hey, Fright fans! Welcome to Scary Story Reviews. Gonna do another review of a story on the subreddit Letsnotmeet. And this one is called Never Ever Pick Up a Hitchhiker by The Best Jeans. Seems like a pretty popular story. It's got 657 upvotes and a bunch of comments, so let's get right into it. Never ever pick up a hitchhiker. So this was told to me by an old family friend, Nikki, numerous times as a kid growing up, as one of those life advice stories to keep in mind through the years. And to her credit, I have never forgotten it. Whenever anything associated with hitchhiking comes up, it always springs to my mind, and probably always will. Makes me a bit ill whenever I think about it, actually. So Nikki, who grew up at the same time as my dad, so this was about the early 80s, I believe, was a young woman in her mid-20s. She was one of those real kind-hearted souls, always willing to help another out in a time of need, you know? And I can't imagine her being anything other than that when she was younger. So I totally see her doing this too. Uh-oh. So driving into the city about an hour or two or so from out of town, she saw a man walking down the side of the road. As she neared, he turned and, in typical hitchhiker manner, stuck out the old arm and thumb. Nikki, bless her heart, pulled over and asked him if he needed any help. Not wise. She told me that he was really polite, if not a bit shy. When he asked for a lift into the city, Nikki gave a smile and popped open the passenger door for the guy, who tossed his bag into the back seat and buckled up for the ride ahead. They talked pleasantly for most of the trip, about friends, the news, etc. You know, happy small talk. She felt that they were getting on really well, and even bought him dinner at the pit stop a little over halfway there. She says he seemed really flustered and awkward when she paid, but one of the things they had talked about was money, and how he was pretty dang strapped for cash, which was why he was hitchhiking in the first place. But he eventually relented, and they went on their way. As soon as they got into the city, he thanked her profusely for the ride and the food, and asked to be dropped off once they hit downtown. Before getting out, he asked for Nikki's phone number, so he could contact her someday and catch up. Thrilled at the prospect of knowing her new friend was faring, Nikki wrote it down for him and drove off with the warm feeling of doing a good deed. Now, I'm sorry if you were expecting something creepy to have happened by now, and I was, but I think this is what really freaked me out so much as a kid. How nice everything seemed to have worked out. Okay, here we go. Nikki gets this crease in her forehead and a funny look in her eye when she tells me the next part. How a week later she got a phone call from her driving buddy. He didn't let her get a word in edgewise after hello, and he told her that she should thank God that she was raised so nice, because when he first got in the car, he was planning on raping and murdering her once they got to the pit stop. That was going to steal the car and dump her body in the ditch further down the road and go on his merry way. But after she talked with him so kindly and treated him to dinner with a smile on her face, he couldn't bring himself to do it. He didn't think that he could live with himself after doing that to such a nice lady. And to please, Nikki, please never, ever pick up another hitchhiker. Then he hung up the phone. Nikki never got a call from him again. When she tried redialing the number, she just got a payphone. And so, Mr. Hitchhiker, I know I'm never going to meet you, because I'm going to listen to the advice you gave your driving buddy, and never, ever pick up a hitchhiker. Okay, that was a little unexpected. I was expecting the old bag with a bunch of knives and ropes and everything to be left in the car or whatever. But that was a little bit different. I don't know if I actually believe this, though. It's creepy, there's no doubt. It was very well written, but it sounds like a creepypasta type of thing for me, or like the old so just a story that maybe adults tell kids to scare them. I don't know. Let's see. There's a lot of comments, though, so let's see what people say here. I kept waiting for a name by the end of the story. This is Nina Panina. She's got 94 points for this. As in, the family friend saw the guy's face on the news, and he might have been someone infamous. For example, Hayden Clark. Which tells me this guy isn't recognizable to us. Then he's been under the radar all these years doing God knows what, which makes the story even creepier. Yeah, okay, I could see that. Who knows all the serial killers, though? Okay, the best genes, this is the OP. That really got me, too. Like she said, he looked really regular. The kind of guy you would pass on the street and wouldn't give a second glance to. Who knows, maybe I have met or at least seen him already. I live in that city for most of my life, so I could have passed him on the street and never known. That's kind of scary thought. The best Virginia. I'd hate to hear what happened to the people he picked up that weren't super kind to him. I was thinking the same thing by the end of the OP's story. I thought that he didn't make the phone call to be helpful or to thank her for being nice. I think he did it to get the last word and make sure she knew that he spared her. Yeah, I don't know. The interesting thing about serial killers is some of them do let people go that they were sizing up as a target. Gacy was apparently like that, especially in the beginning. He'd decide someone was a few pounds too heavy or had the wrong hair, and he'd let them go, unaware that their life had been spared. Yeah, I don't know about that. I could see Gacy doing that. I mean, because that's his own desires, you know, the guy was too heavy or the wrong hair. But letting them go because they're being nice doesn't sound like a serial killer to me, you know. They're sociopaths without any kind of emotion at all. They have no regret, or they're incapable of feeling any kind of regret for what they do or sympathy for the victim. So I don't know. I think it's probably just a story that the lady made up or heard somewhere. Let's see. Hot Glue Ninja. Pretty sure he explained what happened to anybody else when he called her. Yeah. Evil Green Ranger. I don't remember the statistic off the top of my head, but it's actually pretty normal that people pass by murderers all the time, totally unaware. It's definitely effed up, but pretty much the human equivalent of you swallow X amount of spiders in a lifetime while sleeping kind of thing. I think that's another thing that's not true. You swallow so many spiders while you're sleeping. I don't believe that either. I don't know if you walk past murderers all the time. Let's see. Laren says you walk past a murder 36 times in your life. Is the one you're referring to, I believe. Don't quote me on the number, but that sounds about right. That is kind of scary, though. You could be walking past murderers. If you live in a crowded city, I'm sure you do. Yep, I think it operates on a pretty loose definition, though. And it's probably more reasonable to say you walk past that many people who've killed other people. Not specifically murderers. Unless you live in a military base, then you walk past killers all the time, and probably some murderers, too. Yeah, that's probably a better way to put it. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess I won't be getting any decent amount of sleep this weekend. If you're in a room with 100 people, one of them has committed murder. That seems like a lot. 1% of the population? Maybe. Let's see, wholly fictional. If I'm stuck in a room with 100 people for long, I'll commit murder. Hot Glue Ninja. Statistically, not guaranteed. Right, of course, still weird to think about. Crea LaRose, 32. It's weird. There have been times when I walk past a person or drive past cars, I get this sudden feeling chill. The worst I had, it was on the highway, and I panicked as well. What I thought was okay, we were about to get into an accident. However, we passed his truck, and when he exited the highway, the feeling went away. First random thought, he just killed or is going to kill someone. Okay. Genius Grunt. Please, that's bullshit. Murder is an extremely rare phenomenon. You are not passing by murderers all the time, totally unaware. Are you kidding? Okay. Edit. Since I've been downvoted, perhaps you should educate yourself rather than live in the paranoid delusion of passing murderers every day. As per the FBI, there were 14,000 murders in the U.S. in 2013. And this is in a country of 350 million people. Do the math. Genius Grunt. Yeah, he's got -1, too. Kind of a jerk, huh? And he's got the link for the statistic here. Evil Green Ranger responded to him. First off, you are mostly getting downvoted for your douchey attitude. But second, go back and look at the link. Even by its own data, at most, less than 44% of murders in any region in the U.S. get reported. So those numbers aren't written in stone, bud. And it myself and another user talked over the word murderers that was a bit more restrictive than I meant. But killers in general, not so much. Also, take a chill pill, man. It's just Reddit. Let's see, another response. Do you try to be an asshat, or does it just come natural to you? Yeah, I don't know if the guy was actually trying to be that big of a jerk. You know, that's one of those things where when you write something, you could take it different ways. He is kind of a jerk, though. He puts not in caps, and he's kind of making fun of people. His name is Genius Grunt, too. Not much of a genius, though, really, because that statistic he threw out, 14,000 murders, that's only in 1 year. So, you know, if you multiply that by, say, 80 years of the average lifespan, you're looking at, let's see, 10 years would be 140, 20 years, 280, 40 years, 560. So in an 80-year lifespan, that'd be 1,120,000 murderers if each one was committed by a different murder walking around. Over 1 million murderers walking around at any given time. So he totally did not get this statistic at all. Not much of a genius. Also, those are the only ones that, you know, they've found a body or proven murder in. So it should be higher. This one says 44%, so that would be like 2.2 million. I guess that's closer to that 1%, like that guy said. You'd need 3.5 for 1%. But, yeah, that's, you know, there are murderers out there. I don't think you're walking by them all the time, but they're out there. Frost from fire. I honestly feel like this is happening all over the country. It's so easy, and there's tens of thousands missing people. Yeah, see, a lot of those are murders, too. Even the FBI says there's 35 to 50 active serial killers at any one time. And I wouldn't be surprised if that number is higher. Yeah, probably. Come visit us at Unresolved. Blah, blah, blah. Just don't read them right before you go to sleep. Yeah, 5 hours. Okay, the best Virginia. Oh, absolutely. This post was what brought me to the sub, so they're advertising their post. Let's see here if there's anyone. Nina Polini. Thanks for the reminder. I started reading the subreddit not too long ago, and yeah, it's not a great idea to read those threads before bed. Okay, that's common sense. Which tells me this guy isn't recognizable to us, that he's been under the radar all these years doing God knows what. He's quoting that quote. Not necessarily. Could be that the OP's family friends simply didn't recognize the guy. Yeah, not everyone's a serial killer buff, and there have been lots of times out there, though you're right, that many go for a long time, if not forever, without being caught, like the Zodiac Killer. Yeah, that was a weird case, that guy. Number 2, this could also be well-intentioned but fictional cautionary tale from a family friend to a young person. This is the kind of story you don't forget, which makes it more effective as a deterrent. The people who do those kinds of things are usually sociopaths. There you go. Which means they lack basic human empathy. Correct. Which means feeling bad for someone is seen to be a nice person is literally impossible for them to do. They are motivated wholly by self-interest. Of course, there are killers and rapists out there who are not sociopaths, and a case like that might be a little different, but it would be odd for such a person to later call as a warning. Just saying. Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of agree with that. To be honest, he could have just been looking out for her. Everything I've read about homeless people here says that people like her stick out their minds. What she did was super risky, and probably just thought he'd say some insane stuff to her to get her to realize how risky it was. It's twisted, yeah, but it could have come from a good place. Okay, not a bad point. All right, guys, I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to have to cut it short. Pretty good post. It was really very well written. I'm not sure if I totally believe it. I think it is more one of those cautionary tales to a young kid, but creepy nonetheless. I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Let me know if you guys agree with that. Thanks again. Subscribe to the channel and hit a like if you like this video. See you next time. Bye.